What was a super popular kids toy that everyone just forgot about? A lot of people don't remember that the first Nerf products were just foam balls. Particularly the foam football. Every kid had a Nerf football. And some kids had the Nerf Vortex. And the coolest kids had the whistling Nerf Vortex. I still want moon shoes. Easily the quickest disappointment of my childhood. It made jumping more difficult and less high up. And was loud. I think I used mine for like 10 minutes and felt guilty for the rest of my life that my parents bought it. Yep. I talked my grandma into buying me moon shoes for my 9th birthday. They were horrible. The much better investment was a mini trampoline a few years later. Skip It. RIP my ankles. You ever try to play Skip It with a Razor scooter? I did. And despite several not so great incidents, I kept doing it because I was a stupid child. Crazy Bones. I remember those things coming out at the same time as Pokemon, and sometimes catch myself wondering what the world would have been like if Crazy Bones took Pokemon's fame. Polly Pockets. The super tiny ones. Whenever I hear someone wish that the original pocket-sized Polly Pocket would return, I just think of the time I lodged Polly up my 3-year-old nose, causing my dad to need to pull her out with tweezers. And then I remember that I'm part of the reason they stopped making those dolls so small. I tried to make the cases necklaces for some reason. Mighty Beans. It was super niche, but the fact they had rarities made them addicting to collect. Maybe in just trying to justify my container full of the Mighty K lol. I had some of those. I never really understood what the point of them was though. Like I said in my comment, they were mostly for collectible purposes. Looking back on it, I made my parents spend way too much on those little suckers. Those little robot dogs. They were silver with either blue ears or pink ears, and they had a bone, and somehow these little robot things could do backflips. I think it was called Poochie or something lol. Virtual pets never die. They just go through iterations. First you had Furbies. From hell. Then Gigapet/Tamagotchi. This was followed by Poochie. Then Nintendogs. Hell, this hit all in like a 10-year period. Pet toys will always be a thing. In 2077, we'll have Jedi Buttercup on the market. The Flying Barbers Fairy Bitches. I think they are called Sky Dancers. They are. My daughter has one of mine to play with. That thing has been crashed a million times and is still going. Anybody remember Litter Bright? Back in the early 90s I'd play with one every night with the one use papers it came with. Such great memories. I hated single-use items with toys. As a kid I always hesitated to use one-off items because I never knew when my parents would have the time/money to get new ones. As a result I had a bunch of toys that I never wound up using properly because I didn't want to run out of the disposable pieces. Now if my kids get toys that use disposable things I buy a huge stack of the item so they can use it without reservation. Edit. Words. My mom was pretty handy with art supplies. So when she got me one, she bought a bunch of black paper and copied the originals by laying an original over the correct size sheet of paper and poking a hole with a needle to mark where the holes went, and had a sheet she'd used to punch out all of the holes on the board, so she had a template to make her own for me to fill. We didn't have much, but my mom was a superstar. Those pellets that, when you put them in water, they turn into animals. They still sell those at the dollar store. I picked up a pack of the dinosaur shaped ones recently for the nostalgia. 10/10ths would turn pills into animals again. Yes, they do BC. I came home with a pack a couple weeks ago. Sea creatures that were all unidentifiable once the casing melted. Boglins. And mad balls. Water wiggler. Also known as a water snake. Those things are weird. You'd shake and squeeze them, and they'd slip out of your hand. There wasn't really any object to playing with it. Good for stimming, or just occupying restless hands. Spy gear. I would watch the entire Spy Kids shit on me, and my brother thought we were super good spies. Cutting a piece of wool from the carpet, and gathering random newspaper cuttings from my mom's desk. Stretch Armstrong. Now this one I truly forgot about. How could I have forgotten Stretch? Exclamation mark. I remember a second one with Docker hair came out too. I had both. M-U-S-C-L-E. Things. These and Mad Balls and Garbage Pail Kids. 80s Kids Toys starter kit right there. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Finger skateboards like Tech Deck. Yes, they were banned at my school because apparently someone tried to use one of the screwdrivers that came with them to mess with an electrical outlet. Radical broski. 99 in 1 games cassette. Yep. 45 of the games simply didn't work, and the rest were skinned versions of the same 3 games. Pogs. Every year at Christmas I think of them. We were poor as duck. So poor that we had gifts of old and half broken toys delivered to us from a hospital drive this one year. But my mum still managed to get us stocking stuffers, and mine was full of Pogs. They were cheap ones from Woolworths and the dollar store, but I was so thrilled, and I remember sitting on her bed in my PJs and going through my stocking with my brother going through his, marveling at how rich I was and excited to go back to school because I finally had my own Pogs. There was a really cool set of sparkly zodiac sign themed ones. Boy, Pogs. I'm 35 years old and I would dearly love me some right now. I truly would. Do they still make them, I wonder? Can I just say, this was so sweet to read. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. I came here to say, Popples. Apparently I bugged the crap out of my parents for months until they finally bought me a Popple. Must have been around 1986. But the thing is, I just googled them and apparently they never went away. And there was a Netflix show about them that came out in 2015. So maybe not exactly forgotten. I don't think they deserve the longevity. But good job Popples, I guess. Edit. I take back what I said about them not deserving their longevity. I love that so many people still have their Popples or fond memories of them. My mom just confirmed that mine, first gen, green, got thrown out or given away at some point. I had a fever as a young kid in the late 80s or early 90s and threw up on my sister's Popple. Those animatronic cats and puppies called furry friends or pets. It's been a while. I had a puppy that would breathe while it slept. There were cats that would purr. They were essentially baby's first pet. I still have one of those. I named her Violet because her fur looked dull purple instead of grey. She also had a little fish treat you could feed her. Webkins. I'm a male and I had like 20 of those damn stuffed animals. God, I had a bunch of them too. They were my introduction to the internet. Silly bands. They got so popular my elementary school had to ban them once gangs and a black market economy with viral money started forming. Along those lines, Live Strong bracelets. For about a year, everyone had one and there was always some kid with a backpack full that would sell you one for $5. I wonder how many people still have them. And the WWJD bracelets. As if any of us ever actually asked ourselves that while wearing them. Sea monkeys. CMONKEYS equals a pet we all were excited to get until we got them and realized that they were boring. Spirographs were pretty rad. Did you know that there's a direct correlation between the rise in gang violence and the decline of spirograph? Think about it. I will. Lincoln Logs and those little plastic army men. I remember playing Army Men, Sarge's Heroes on the N64. And getting kind of curious about how the plastic army men I had would react to fire. Needless to say there's lumps of melted plastic in the old backyard. Wacky wall walkers. They were a soft rubber octopus that could climb down a wall. God, we had millions of those things. All fun and games until it gets into dust and dirt. Tamagotchi. I killed so many of those things. I can't fucking use you during class. Just get over it. I remember getting them in the holidays then giving them to my mum to look after when we returned to school. They never made it past the first week. I think your mother murdered your digipets. I remember these things called hex bugs or something. They were basically robotic looking bugs that were bugs. I'd always wanted one of those when I was a kid, but never dared to ask my mom. Mayo. But I'm curious if they still make those, because I haven't been in a toy store for a very long time. They are still around, though mostly in bargain shops and whatnot. Honestly, it has been a long time since I have seen them in a big retail store, even at a 90% discount. Let's say you got one for 99 cents. The batteries alone would cost you way more than what you spent on the toy to replace them. It was honestly cheaper to buy a new one that replaced the batteries on your old one. Just like printer ink. I still have to lying around in a box somewhere. They need something like 3 or 4 batteries. Tickle me Elmo. With all these hard to find items like consoles, CPU and GPU, it reminded me of this stuffed toy from my younger days. Fun fact, Toys R Us was distributing those for Christmas the first year in Canada the same week the commercials started showing up. For sale over Christmas. I'd never heard of the damned things, and I was working as a temp at a true distribution center, loading trailers by hand. Empty trailer. I'm at the nose of it. Drop the first nondescript case in the corner, and 24 voices start laughing in unison about how being dropped 3 feet tickled. I almost needed new undies. Zoids. Crazy robot animals with cannons that were kind of like Gundam. Oh. And it'd be remiss as a 90s kid if I didn't mention Crash Test Dummies. Link. imga.com/mda0k. JPG. These were little action figures that blew apart when you pressed a button on their chests. You could buy all kinds of test vehicles and other stuff to facilitate their dissociation. Thinking back, it was a bit odd how there was a whole toy craze centered around simulating car crashes and such. Kinda Cronenberg-esque. The phrase facilitate their dissociation has for some reason had me crying with laughter for the last 10 minutes, so thanks for providing a high spot in an otherwise extremely meh day. Teddy Ruxpin. And when the batteries got low, he summoned deadites. I'll swallow your soul. Bop it. Twist it. Pull it. Lawn darts. We should bring those back. I've posted this before. But a favorite memory is when we were outside playing with darts and we stabbed my sister in the arm. We ran inside screaming to my mom. We hit Annie with a dart! Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. And she turns white and says, "Where?" Question mark. Question mark. And my brother screams, "In the backyard!" Exclamation mark. Cabbage Patch Dolls. Also, Garbage Pail Kids. Furbies. The scariest toy for children 3+. My grandparents bought all the grandchildren Furbies one year for Christmas. I think it was 5th or 6th grade? Question mark. I hid mine in a cabinet no one ever looked in a room no one really went in. Totally forgot it existed and moved on happily. College me comes back for a visit and needs to find a document. So I go into this unused room, open a cabinet, and see it. This white funny slowly opens its eyes, fluttering them weirdly. "Feeb me," it cries. I jumped and slammed the cabinet shut. No demons for me. Thanks. I had a Furby on a top shelf in my closet for a couple years. Unto shade. One day when I was looking through the shelf its eyes slowly opened, looked down at me, and moaned. It did not have batteries. Loom bands. I remember when some of my classmates and I got shitloads of them to try to make an extremely long chain. By the end of the year we could not decide who keeps it at home during summer vacation, so we left it at school. When we came back next year, it was gone. Beyblade. I used to optimize my Beyblades with different metal rings etc. Customizing them should be great nowadays if you got a 3D printer. One Christmas my parents got me some knockoff ones with slightly poor fitting, yet much heavier weight discs, and holy shit those things beat the piss out of everyone else's. Ezuka. Those things were the shit bro. Yo-yos. Everyone had them. Trying out new tricks and shit. Tiger Electronic handheld. They were so simple and bad, but always a gift to birthdays. I liked the Tiger Electronics. Family was too poor for a Gamma Boy, so this was my only alternative. Don't Wake Daddy. Mousetrap. Beast Wars Transformers. Cowboys and Indians figures, like the Green Army Men, which are also mostly forgotten. Macro Machines. Edit to add some more. Don't break the ice. Talk Boy from Home Alone. I had one that I never used. Sky Dancers. Pickup Sticks. Tornado Rex. Grape Escape. California Raisins. Jacks. Hit Clips. Those little cartridges with songs on them. I remember getting them from Happy Meals back in the day. Or from stores. But I never had the player. Gosh. So many childhood memories. Beast Wars characters still get re-revived every so often in whatever the latest iteration of the franchise is. Masterpiece versions link. B/sys1skbs's T=119 were out in 2016, I think, and the 2021 Kingdom series is going to have a bunch of Beast Wars characters turn up in it. Happy Fun Ball. Do / not mock Happy Fun Ball. If Happy Fun Ball begins to smoke, get away immediately. Seek shelter and cover head. Gak rest in defunct. Hot hell. So much worse than slime. On that same note, Floam. Action Man. Hit clips before iPods. And those rigid bands that you snap on your wrist and they curl around. My coworker found a Hit Clips radio thing with about 15 little clips on it and showed it to me. Since I'm probably the only one at the company of the right age to remember them, it was a huge wave of nostalgia, but also I don't remember a good portion of the songs / artists at all. I was only allowed one clip and an uncool shaped player. The cool girls had certain shapes and mine was shaped like the love statue of Philadelphia. Littlest Pet Shop. Those viewfinder toys where you put the paper wheel in and flick through the pictures. Marbles. I remember I was at a $1 store where they sold bags of 25 of those. Wanna guess what 7-year-old me did with his money that day? I still have a box full of marbles, although I lost or gave away most of them. Similar to that, as a young kid I collected bouncy balls. Like back when Hollywood Video and Blockbuster were a thing, they always had a quarter machine filled with different bouncy balls. So every weekend, when my mom would rent movies, I got one bouncy ball per movie. Little did she know I had a plan that never came to, and I grew out of, that once I collected enough I was gonna get in the bathtub and have someone cover me with bouncy balls and see what would happen. At first it was an odd collecting hobby that turned into something so weird. Kids are ducking insane man lol. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.